This is my summer morning routine as an equestrian. When I get there, I start turning on all the lights, and my first order of business is to get the feed ready because they are both super hungry. So I get their feed pans out and give them each their grain. Chester gets 1 scoop of Purina Senior and Kite gets 1.5. They both get the same supplements, so they each get a dash of salt and some Equinity powder, and I wet it down to make it nice and soft for them. And so I know they're getting a little bit of water with their breakfast. I grab Chester's Succeed, and they're starting to get a little antsy, so I put the Succeed just on top of his feed, and it's time to give it to them. Chester's a little nicer to me this morning, but I make sure not to let them, push me around, and I had to kind of give Kite a little bit of a warning because it was grouchy this morning. He was out all night, so I take his fly mask off, and they are both enjoying their breakfast. While he's eating, I shut Kite's door and rotate with Chester's door open. You can see I had a little bit of help, but she didn't want to come back and join me in the barn. The next thing we are going to do is put a fly mask on Chester because, like I said, I'm going to open his door. I don't like to keep him on inside usually, but the flies are so bad here that we do have to keep them on when we turn them out. Here he is checking outside, and then he goes to look out for a little while before deciding to finally go out and graze, and he is so pretty and loving it out there. And this fly mask is so cute on him. This is at about 6:30 in the morning, and now it's time for me to clean his buckets because he is gross. So I take down both the buckets and dump all that water out, and since he's done eating, I grab his feed pan as well and rinse out both buckets, making sure they're nice and clean, and then I dump that water out from both of them. And now it's time to wash out that pan because I do soak the feed, so that makes it a little bit grosser, but Chester's gross in general. And then I put the feed pan away out of the stall and then hang up the new clean buckets and take down that hay bag he had last night while he was in his stall. I fill up his water, and he decided he needed to come check and see if I need any help, and I didn't, so I went back outside, and we are going to ride Kite first today. So I put a halter on him, grab him out, and tie him to the ring so we can start grooming him. He's kind of talking to Chester through the stall there. He's kind of dusty, but he really was not too bad this day. I brush everywhere the saddle is going to go and under the cinches, and he has some pretty gnarly bed heads, so I made sure to work on that before throwing on my saddle pad and then my saddle. And I have to change the cinches to be right for him because the last horse I rode was Chester, and I want these fitting him right. And then I loosely do the cinches up, and now it is time to find a nice cute breast collar, and I go with this little Pendleton pattern because I think it is super cute. And once I have it up there, I clip it under the cinch, and there is a great look at all of that tack together. And I put on my matching pommel bag as well, and I put on these bell boots that don't match, but they're still super cute, and I make sure to spray them good with fly spray, throw on my helmet, and go hop on. I tighten the cinches, we walk both ways for a while, and then we trot both ways. This is just a nice light exercise for him, and I walk between all the transitions, and then we lope both ways, and I decide to take him out of the arena and go for a nice sort of trail ride around. Easy. Where are we going so fast? We're just walking. I've never ridden out here, so I wanted to go investigate everything, kind of see what everything looks like, if there's any big holes or anything out there. I can feel that you want to take off, because I think I will be riding in this pasture a lot, and I think Kite really enjoyed this. You gonna go for a trot? I think he was as curious as I was. His ears are so cute, flicking around, trying to hear every little thing that's going on around him. You can see a pond to our right, and then a nice giant open field everywhere else around us. And I know he wanted me to just drop the reins and let him run, especially if he hadn't just worked out. I think he would have really been asking to run, but he was really good for me. And he got a good workout before finally realizing that there were people working on the roof. Really? They've been doing it the whole time. You can jump it if you want, but go. Once I knew I was back on that nice straight stretch, I let him trot again, and this time there are some horses in the distance he can see, so he's very, very interested in them. And I'm gonna end his workout once we trot and get back, because this was fun and I don't want to accidentally make him sore for our first ride here. Here he is noticing those horses, but he goes by them just fine and goes back by the roofers just fine. So good job, Kite. He kind of gave him a look, but not too bad. So this time I did trot him all the way back up to the barn so that I could just hop off and get his tack off of him, because I knew he had fun, but he thinks eating is more fun. So I got off of him and started taking that tack off, starting with the back cinch and then moving to the front cinch, of course, after I'd already gotten my breast collar off. And today I'm going to do his feet. I really need to be doing his every day because they are so prone to different things. So I just picked them out and then spray some Spurrs Big Fix in there, and he was very, very dramatic. But this spray will prevent any sort of fungus growing in there, more specifically thrush, because you definitely don't want that. And I did this in all 4 feet and then went over his hoofs with some nice Spurrs Big Fix hoof moisturizer to really keep his hoofs hydrated this summer and to keep them from cracking. And all of this heat, hoof care is very important. And now for his least favorite part ever. You can tell he is super mad at me here when he realizes, oh no, I am about to be sprayed off. But I don't spray his whole body off. I really just spray off where he's sweaty because he hates it, and I don't want to have to wait for his whole body to dry. So I put him in his stall under his fan so he can dry for a little bit, and he did threaten to roll. While he was trying to roll, I grabbed him a fly mask and went and put it on because he is going to go to a different pasture. So in and out all night, he was able to go from his stall into the turnout right outside, but now I'm going to take him to a way bigger pasture just behind it where he can still see and talk to Chester. So I let him out there, and he immediately goes to eating, of course, and I make sure the gate is shut good behind me because I do not want any escapees. Definitely not. I tied Chester up because now it's time for us to ride him, and he also had some serious bedhead going, and he was so dusty. He must have been laying down or something, I don't know, but he was really, really dirty. You could see me getting all of that dust off before throwing on the same saddle and saddle pad, and he moved. So my saddle throw was not very smooth, and I had to do it again, and I moved the cinches back down from where they go on Kite to Chester, who's a much bigger boy, and I'm riding him in my teal serape breast collar today. And he also got boots that did not match, and I threw my helmet back on and went to riding. I got in the arena, and we walked for a long time before I asked for a nice sitting trot, and he was just a little hot, but he was not as bad as he can be. So we worked at this nice sitting trot, changing directions, switching it up, getting him a nice long trot in because he needs a good workout. I walked for a little while and then asked for a lope, and he did really good this way. I pet him, and then this way I could not for the life of me get him to be not cross-firing, but he had his head down and was going at a nice speed. So I took it, I hopped off and immediately loosened those cinches, got him inside to get that tack off. And he's not as dramatic about getting sprayed off as Kite is, but he still does not really love it. So I get him in the cross ties and start rinsing off that sweat. He worked a lot harder than Kite, so he's a lot sweatier. I really work where the saddle is, and then I get his legs good and cold because cold water is great for them, and I make sure to get those back legs and hocks, and then I grab my Ice 5 ice packs and put them on all 4 feet just to really cool those tendons down. I'm not riding him in sports boots right now just because of the heat, but especially when I do, I use the Ice 5 ice packs and massage boots. I put him in his stall to dry for a minute under his fan, and once I think he is somewhat dry, I put his fly mask back on. He did not want to be as sweet to me as Kite was when I was putting on Kite's fly mask, but whatever. I go and open his door to the turnout so he can go back out in that pasture and graze to his heart's content, and he can also see Kite over the fence. And now it is time for me to clean their stalls. They aren't too terrible, but I pick everything out. I pick every single morning to keep the flies down because the flies are really, really bad here, and just to keep their stalls nice and tidy for them to be comfy to go lay down in. Chester's stall is always way worse than Kite's stall, so it does take me a little more time, and I will typically pick his in the morning and at night. I push out my wheelbarrow once I've picked everything out and throw in a bag of pellets just because I had taken a lot from his favorite pea spot today, so I wanted to make sure there was still a nice amount of bedding in here. So while that soaks, I moved on to Kite's stall. Like I said, his stall really never gets that terrible. There are just a few things here and there, and he is out really for most of the day and night, so he's not hanging out in there too much. Chester's bag of pellets was soaked, so I go in there, dump them, and spread them around, really making sure his favorite pea spot is covered. And then I dump Kite's water buckets because they aren't too nasty, but I want to keep their water very clean for them. Once I had his buckets dumped, I just hung them back up because they didn't really need to be rinsed out, and filled them back up with water. And now it was time to get that wheelbarrow out of there and dumped away from the barn to help also get rid of all of those flies. I have to be a little careful here to not let any animals into the barn through that gate, so I shut it behind me while I'm out here dumping the wheelbarrow. And the pile is at like a downhill slope, so it really helps to get everything out of it. When I get back to the barn and put my wheelbarrow up, I make Chester an alfalfa bag to hang in his stall in case he gets bored and wants to go in there. He'll have something to do while he's cooling off under his fan. The last thing I do this morning is sweep out the hallway to keep everything nice and clean, and that is my morning routine. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!